The buzzer didn't just echo in my garage, it rattled my teeth, a glorious, bone-shaking blast straight out of an NBA Finals game. It was the kind of sound that makes you feel alive, like you're courtside when the clock hits 0 and the crowd loses its mind. Maybe I'd cranked the Bluetooth speaker a beast the size of a corgi a bit too loud. Authenticity, you know? It demands sacrifice. My sacrifice, it turned out, was peace. Bang, bang, bang. The pounding on my garage door synced perfectly with my spiking pulse. James Carter, open this door, saw now, saw. That nasally, self-righteous screech wasn't just any neighbor. It was Victor, HOA president, joy killer extraordinaire, and the human equivalent of a soggy paper towel. I fumbled with my phone, silencing the air horn app. The quiet felt heavy, like it was judging me. Through a sneaky gap in the door panels unplanned, but clutch, I saw the nightmare unfolding, red and blue lights flashing across my driveway, 2 cops looking like they'd rather be anywhere else, and Victor, practically VY bratting with smug fury, jabbing a finger at my garage like it had personally insulted his prized azaleas. Okay, I muttered to the half-built bleacher leaning against my workbench. Maybe blasting an NBA buzzer at 10:17 p.m. wasn't my stealthiest move. Victor looked ready to burst a vein in his perfectly gelled hair, and I was pretty sure Officer Daniels recognized me from last year's overly enthusiastic lawn flamingo display. This was fine. Totally fine. James! Officer Daniels called, his voice tired but loud enough to cut through the door. We're getting complaints about. What is that? Sounds like a buffalo throwing a rave in a dumpster. Victor jumped in, pointing again. He's building something in there, officer. Something saw unapproved saw. Probably a safety hazard. Unapproved? Sure. Safety hazard? The contractor swore the reinforced joists could hold a baby elephant, and the jumbotron wasn't saw that saw heavy. Probably. This whole mess cops, Victor's meltdown, the questionable construction project eating my 2-car garage started weeks ago with a simple dream, a basketball hoop. Picture the HOA meeting room, reeking of stale coffee and crushed hopes, fluorescent lights buzzing like a bad omen. At the head table sat the Architectural Review Committee, Victor, smug as ever, Mrs. Lavender, obsessed with her petunias, and Carl, who just nodded at whatever Victor said. I stood there, armed with diagrams, neighbor letters, and a smile I hoped didn't scream, "Please don't ruin my life." My pitch was solid, a half-chord on my widened driveway, black pole, clear backboard, neutral gray lines. Barely noticeable. The Garcias and Levy's next door even wrote they were cool with it. Just a spot for me and maybe some kids to shoot hoops, get some air. Victor leaned back, steepling his fingers like a cartoon VY lane. Thank you, James, he said, voice dripping with condescension. A valiant effort. But the committee has saw concerns saw. Here it came. A sports court. He sneered like I'd proposed a landfill. Disrupts the aesthetic harmony of our community. Aesthetic harmony? It was a hoop, 10 feet tall max. Meanwhile, Tom on Oak Street had a 6-foot inflatable parrot in sunglasses on his lawn half the year. That's whimsical, James, Victor said, while VYing off my point. Your court implies saw active VY tie saw. Sweating. He spat the word like it was contagious. Mrs. Lavender chimed in. The Serenity, James, think of the saw Serenity saw. Carl nodded. I was dumbfounded. A hoop was too sweaty, but a giant parrot was fine. Request denied, Victor said, banging a tiny gavel I hadn't noticed. Tap. The rejection letter burned in my hand back home. I crumpled it, chucked it at the wall, and watched it bounce off some old tires. Pacing the dusty garage floor, I dribbled an imaginary ball, fueled by pure spite. Aesthetic harmony. Serene landscapes. Screw that. My garage 20 by 20, 12-foot ceiling, smooth concrete was my domain. The HOA could control my mailbox color, but not what I did in here. An idea, wild and petty, sparked. If I couldn't have a court outside, where it might offend Victor's delicate VY Bess, I'd build one inside. A saw stadium saw. I grabbed chalk, sketched a chord on the floor, and whispered to the dusty air, "Welcome to the Carter Coliseum." Finding someone to build this madness was step one. My usual guy, Pete, saw my pizza box sketches and backed out, muttering about lawsuits and therapy. So, I hit the internet, landing on Ivan and Sons Construction. We build anything. Seriously. Ivan, a bear of a man with a mustache like a national monument, surveyed my garage, studied my drawings, and listened to my rant about bleachers, a jumbotron, and arena lights. "So," he said, stroking his mustache, "you want tiny stadium in garage?" "Exactly," I said. "The Carter Coliseum. Catchy, right?" He shrugged. "Is your garage? We reinforce joists for big TV, put up lights, build benches." "Bleachers," I corrected. "Authentic VYB. Benches," he insisted. "Bleachers need permits. Benches, no headache." "Fine, benches." Ivan was unfazed by the insanity, so I hired him. Work started Monday. The next weeks were a covert operation. Ivan's sons, Alex and Yuri, tore through the garage like a sawdust tornado, ripping out shelves, bolting in beams that could hold a tank, and framing walls for drywall. Deliveries came when Victor was on his power walk: lumber for benches, shady light fixtures, gym-grade rubber flooring, and a massive TV box the future jumbotron smuggled inside before nosy neighbors could snoop. The noise was trickier. Saws, drills, hammers. I painted and wired speakers after work, praying the sound wouldn't carry. It did. "Evening, James," Mrs. Daniels said one night, eyeing me over the fence as I wrestled soundproofing. "Big remodel?" "Just organizing," I lied, sweating. "Soundproofing for my niece's drum phase." She raised an eyebrow. My sister's kid-free life in Maine was my little secret. Whispers spread. "Did you see that truck drop off stadium lights at James's?" one neighbor asked. "I heard it's concert gear," another replied. Victor, meanwhile, became a one-man surveillance state, walking his yappy dog, Brutus, whenever a truck appeared, scribbling in a notebook. "Significant unapproved modifications," I overheard him tell Carl. "No permits, suspicious materials." The pressure was on. The Coliseum had to be done before Victor found a rule to shut me down. Specialists brought their own chaos. Leo, the electrician, clutched his codebook like a Bible, sweating over my floodlights. "This is airport runway wattage, James," he said. "Permits? Just organizing," I bluffed. Flooring guys Nate and Cody, in a van plastered with surf decals, were stoked. "Rubber flooring like the pros. Want the logo? Victor's face with a slash through it?" Tempting, but I stuck to a standard key. The hoop guy, Ray, was baffled installing indoors. "No dunking," he warned. "Ceiling's too low." Every VY sit was a gamble. Would someone snitch? Would Victor catch a glimpse? The INEVY table came one Tuesday. I was breaking in the hoop, the balls saw thwack, saw pure music on the new floor. Lights hit me. Officer Daniels knocked. "Noise complaint." Rhythmic banging. Victor whined from across the street. "It's a demolition derby." I cracked the door, blocking the VYEW. "Just exercise, officer. Doctor's orders." "It's 6:15 p.m., Victor," I called. "Legal hours." I lied about soundproofing and my niece's drums. Daniels sighed. "Keep it down, James. And whatever's in there, make sure it's legal." Victor was circling. HOA notices piled up. "Improper material storage." A 2x4. I left VY Cybele for 10 minutes. "Unauthorized structural mods." Even. "Unlicensed recreational facility." I fired back sarcastic replies, citing bylaws, mocking Victor's obsession with interior aesthetics. It was a stall, but the Coliseum was almost ready. Mounting the Jumbotron 70-inch TV was a near disaster, swaying 10 feet up as me, my buddy Sam, and Yuri prayed it wouldn't crash. The benches, with instructions from another dimension, listed slightly. A mini fridge, popcorn machine, and Gatorade completed the VYB, though the popcorn nearly triggered the smoke alarm. The neighborhood Facebook group exploded. "James is a legend, sticking it to Victor," Sam posted. "Outrageous," wrote Concerned Resident 76. "Definitely Victor." I invited Sam and Tom for the grand opening, Saturday 3 p.m., free popcorn. But Victor had a trump card. Friday, Ms. Clara Evans from Code Enforcement arrived, clipboard in hand, Victor, pruning his roses nearby. "Anonymous complaint," she said, eyeing Victor. "Unpermitted alterations, possible zoning violation." I led her inside, passing it off as organized storage. She wasn't buying it, noting the hoop, benches, and TV. "Your permit mentioned shelf VYing," she said. "Not a jumbotron." I promised an amended permit. She left, saying, "You'll hear from us." Victor smirked. I had one day. Game day was magic. Sam and Tom gaped at the lit-up court, Jordan highlights on the jumbotron, popcorn popping. "This is insane," Sam said. We played 2-on-1, laughing, the nets saw swish, saw perfect. The NBA theme song played low, My Garage a Real Arena. Then saw bang, 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 saw. "Carter, open up! Code Enforcement and Police!" Victor crowed. "Game over!" Ms. Evans, Daniels, and Officer Lee stood outside, Victor bouncing with glee. A bench cracked, Tom yelping, popcorn flying. "Illegal assembly," Evans said. "We're inspecting." The dream was crashing. The fallout was a grind. Meetings, forms, fine threats. Facing the city, Victor's gloating, and my shaky benches, I compromised. "You can't run a stadium." Ms. Evans, yes, another Evans said. "Seating, jumbotron, lighting gone." "The hoop?" I asked. She paused. "A hoop and floor lines, if safe and non-commercial, might be okay." Victor sputtered. "It's a blight." I grinned. "Hear that, Victor? The court stays." His face hit plum territory. Weeks later, the garage was quieter. Ivan's crew removed the benches and jumbotron, Leah VYing bolt scars. Leo downgraded the lights. The fridge and popcorn machine moved downstairs, but the hoop, rubber floor, and lines stayed. I stood at the free throw line, ball bouncing. Saw thwack, swish, saw. The Coliseum was gone, but the court was mine. It cost a fortune, endless stress, and Victor's eternal grudge, but every shot was worth it. No HOA could stop me now. Though, that ceiling's pretty high. Wonder if Ivan does retractable roofs.